Good morning. Monday morning, Labor Day. Let's see, September 6th. Welcome this morning. Get a little bit late start this morning. Jan Akins, welcome. It's 7:04 on my watch. Well, normally I'm broadcasting this live stream out at the property, but I got out there this morning to do it, and I realized I had left my phone here at the house, so I had to turn around, rush back here, and so here I am doing the live stream this morning. Janisa, good to see you this morning. Welcome, everyone. Probably always a question whether or not on a holiday this live stream is going to happen, and unless I communicate I'm not going to be here, or there's some sort of reason I can't, I don't have any control over. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Dana Kreshak, good to see you this morning. Let's see, wait for a couple more names before we start. We're in Proverbs chapter 6 this morning. It's been a good weekend, a full weekend, and saying goodbye to Marcus and Karen yesterday. They're actually leaving this morning on their road trip to Tennessee. Saying goodbye is always so hard. It's such an emotional thing, and was on my mind again this morning. Karen had posted a very sweet reflection on her time at working at Grace as our office manager. She posted that on Facebook and Instagram, and she hasn't been on either of those bits of social media for a long time, and so it was meaningful to read that. Carmen Lego, good morning to you. So we are in Proverbs 6. I already said that, right? Let me get my Bible out. I'll read the proverb that I'm going to comment on. I don't have any place to put this stuff down. There we go. And then I'll read a bit from my journal. Debbie King, good morning. Mike and Joe Stromberg, welcome. Proverbs chapter 6. I'm going to read beginning with verse 6. It says this: "Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? Oh, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man." So this is probably a familiar proverb, and to many of us. And the word sluggard, interestingly, only appears in Proverbs. It doesn't appear anywhere else in the Bible, as far as the Old Testament goes, in Hebrew words, that is. And it denotes more than laziness. Lazy is kind of doesn't have, as far as the Bible, Old Testament depiction of laziness, it's unwise, it's not good, it's to be, and of course the New Testament has a lot to say about laziness too, that it's not good. Maybe the New Testament version of laziness is the Old Testament version of being the sluggard. The point I'm making is that sluggard seems to be, how it's characterized, is like a step removed from laziness. Laziness is what the sluggard, how he lives his life, whereas the sluggard implies there's some inherent defect that needs to be addressed. And so that isn't righteous. So I don't know all the nuances of that. I didn't really have time to chase that around this morning. The point is, how do we avoid? That's what the proverb writer's telling us. How do we avoid being the sluggard? Well, we take cues from the ant. The ant doesn't need anybody to tell her to prepare bread in the summer and to harvest, to collect her food in the harvest. Prepare for winter, prepare for what lies ahead. Don't need anybody to tell her that. So so she's prepared when there's food in the storeroom, when there's less food available in your field. Whereas the sluggard pays no attention to that. They're just lazy. They need someone really to tell them what to do in order to plan ahead. Somebody else has to take care of them, and so on. And the Bible's telling us, the proverb writer's telling us we should avoid that. That somehow it's not just unwise, but there's something deeper to it. So I journal a couple things this morning as I was reflecting, because all of us really, well, I don't know if all of us, but I certainly have struggles in areas. There's areas of my life where I'm very disciplined. No one needs to tell me what to do. Most of my life I have learned how to take the initiative enough to always be rewarded for taking initiative, whether that's to have more opportunities, to have an income, a greater income, whatever that is. There's always been opportunities that when they've come up on the horizon, I've been in a position to take those opportunities because of taking initiative with my life, training myself, developing my skills, all those things. So certainly there are areas in my life that are disciplined, that are reflective of the ant. But if I'm honest, there are also areas that I'm not. I lack self-discipline, and I think that's where we kind of all lie. There's areas that we are good at as far as this concern, and areas that we aren't. So I want to just talk about a few things that, a few phrases that came to mind that I think are helpful for us to be developing, either as a young person or when we identify areas of our life that are lacking in this area. So I'll just name the phrases and I'll comment a little bit on it as it reflects to this idea of the proverb 6 through whatever I read, the ant storing away for the future, unlike the sluggard. The first thing that came to mind was first things first. And that's why I titled today's devotion that, gave that title. First things first implies that you know what the most important things are, and you put those in their proper priority. Oftentimes, when we don't want to do something, it's kind of hard, or we put it off, we procrastinate, we start to do less important things just because they're easier, and it's something we want to do. It's kind of like rearranging the sock drawer type of things that really aren't that important. No one ever really sees it, but it occupies our time when we're trying to avoid something that really needs to be done, but we just don't want to do it. So learning from the ant, first of all, we understand we have to prioritize the most important things. That is a characteristic of the wise person, to know that, hey, winter's coming, I got to lay ahead for the future. And so even though there's plenty of food now, there won't be then. And so a priority, first things first, would be I need to make sure I'm working now, working hard, putting things ahead, because I know I have wisdom to know that a day is coming when I'm going to need this storehouse, this store of food or whatever. So knowing how to prioritize our time and putting important things first is a characteristic of the ant, characteristic of the wise person and not the sluggard. Another phrase I wrote down is self-discipline. Self-discipline is needed when we have things to do we don't want to do. It's characteristic of eating our vegetables, exercising, going to bed, regularly on time, getting enough rest so we can get up, so we can start our day in an adequate time to get the things done we need to do. We discipline ourselves to do things that are harder because they are the priority. Those are things we've set first. When I was trying to develop a morning routine, this is in college, that prioritized being in the Word before I had to go to class. These are college days where you didn't get much sleep. And not because you were so studious, but because there was just so many social activities happening. You wanted to hang out with your friends, and oftentimes you just did that late at night. But I felt like I really wanted to prioritize getting in the Word. And so at first, I just tried to discipline myself to get up early, which works okay. But when you're going to bed at midnight or later, it's hard to get up early if you have an 8 o'clock class. That's really early. That's not enough sleep, right? So instead of disciplining myself to get up early, what I realized that I had to discipline myself to go to bed early. That was the real discipline. And so that's just one example of understanding the priorities, making those things first, and then discipline ourselves to make decisions that are in alignment with those priorities. Like the ant. We put first things first, and we exercise self-discipline. Another phrase I wrote down is delayed gratification. These are all in a similar category, right? Delayed gratification is another thing we learn that is characteristic of the wise person, characteristic of the mature, emotionally mature person. That it involves making choices. All these things involve choices, free will. I love that. We have the freedom to make choices. What kind of choices are we making? Delayed gratification means I have the choice between having something now that has some value to me versus choosing to reject what I could have now so that I could have something later that is of greater value. We can use food for an example. I can say, I want this rich type of food now because it'll satisfy me. It tastes good and so on. But we push off that future goal of being healthy, right? So if we make that decision time after time after time, every time I'm hungry, I'm going to grab for rich food. Eventually, I'm not going to be healthy. It's going to affect me in the long term. I've traded my long-term health for my short-term satisfaction. And so delayed gratification means I'm going to put off my short-term satisfactions to attain a longer-term goal. We do the most important things first so that we achieve a longer-term. Exercise fits in this category, right? I'm going to do the painful thing today so that I can accomplish a goal that requires my doing this painful thing day after day after day after day, and eventually I will attain this particular goal of weight loss, or be able to run a 10K, or to be able to lift a certain amount of weight, or we study and develop skills because ultimately I want to be employable in this next level of employment. I have a goal of achieving income to give my family some level of comfort that it desires, but I don't have the skills for that. So I need to develop skills. So I'm going to do that today so that after I put up a significant amount of time, I'm going to achieve the longer term goal of getting more viable employment. And this is called delayed gratification. This is something that we all have to develop to be mature, to be wise, and so on. This is what we can learn from the ant. Another thing that is highlighted in this passage is taking initiative. The proverb writer talks about the ant doing these things without a chief or an officer or somebody telling them what to do. And if anybody works on a job site or has responsibility for a team, you always value those team members who don't wait to be told what to do. They just see the need and they have a solution and they take that solution to, they take action. Those are the people that are always going to get the promotion. Those are always people that are going to get more responsibility because they have proven themselves to be trustworthy. Taking initiative is a tremendous skill. We don't wait around. It's like somebody looking for work. I know somebody years ago who was facing unemployment, and they every day looked for work. They didn't ever stop. They never grew weary in looking for work, but the work wasn't coming. And so what they did, I was so impressed by this. What they did was, after they checked all the job status and applied for new whatever, they had a chunk of their day. So they would go to people's homes and do work for them for free. I was so impressed by this. I got to stay busy. They just like, I can't sit around. I got to do something. And so they chose to do work for free until employable work came up. And I just thought that really spoke to this person's character. Well, the happy end of the story is that those choices actually produced opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise, and now they have a very good job. They've been employed for years, and even when they were injured on a particular job, that employment was so secure, and their work ethic was so evident that they didn't lose their job. They were able to work through the recovery and so on, and be back at work and so on. And so taking an initiative, looking for things to do without anybody telling you what to do, is a sign of wisdom, a sign of maturity, a sign of, anybody in our household. You see all there's things to be done always in a household, things to be cleaned up, beds to be made, rooms to be picked up, dishes to be done, yards to be mowed. When you think about just your household, and if you particularly have a family with children of different ages, one of the things you expect is the youngest children, they need to be cared for. But as those children grow older and their ability to contribute to the household increases, it's an expectation, and the parents in fact train children to say, we're no longer going to make rules. This is just the expectation. We want to see you make choices without us telling you what to do. And this becomes kind of the battle of parenting. When children grow into adolescent age, there's the expectation that you shouldn't need to be told to do this every time. You're of the age where you can start taking initiative for yourself. You just see a need, you do it. You need to overcome slothfulness, laziness, sluggard. We're kind of battle this with our adolescents, but it's such an important lesson to be learned, and we as parents instill this. It's very tiresome for us, but we see the value of it, that you need to take responsibility for your part of your contribution to the household. Well, why is this so important? Because we know that this extends into life. And so as we kind of close things up this morning, as I alluded to initially, there are areas where we do great with putting first things first, self-discipline, taking initiative, delaying gratification. But then there are probably areas of our life where we don't. And so that's where I was this morning, just reflecting on some of those areas and saying, okay, I need to pay attention to that again. And so that these other areas don't become liabilities to me. I want to be wise. I want to continue to do the work I know I need to do. And in the end, it gives God glory. Because we are living healthy lives. We are living lives that are skillful. That's the purpose of Proverbs, is to teach us to live skillful lives, healthy, good, well lives. So that's the word for today on this Labor Day, ironically. So to pay attention to the ant, and that we might benefit. These are the words of the wise, and we are wise too if we take those words to heart. All right, we'll talk to you, see you right back here tomorrow morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.